Before we talk about the future and your hopes for it, I wanted you to mention anything else that the Institute's doing or you plan to do that you feel is critical.
Well, we have several programs, although we are small. We believe in small is beautiful around here.
Yes.
Maybe too much.
I have heard that.
We publish a regular monthly newsletter called Alternative Agriculture News. We also publish a monthly newsletter called Alternative Agriculture Resources Report, which is sent on a gratis basis to all the county extension offices in the country, plus several others that have been added since we began. And we have an annual symposium that you're very familiar with.
Yes, I certainly am.
In the throes of beginning to try to plan the one for next year already, which is going to be a very complicated subject. And in fact, we're thinking of departing from our pattern of one-day events and going to a day and a half, just because of the complexity of the subject.
Do you want to talk any more about the subject this time?
Well, yes, we could. We're going to try to look at the relationships, to the extent that research is out there, the empirical relationships between the character of farming systems and the viability of small rural towns and communities. So it's a tough area. There has not been a lot of research done. We know that many things have changed structurally in U.S. agriculture that it would preclude a return to the past connections between agriculture and rural communities, even if there was wide-scale adoption of these systems. But clearly agriculture is a big part of the connection there. And when you think back to how much intercourse there used to be between farmers and rural residents and businesses, we want to try to look at that and see how the depopulation of rural areas has impacted those relationships. I've often told this story about when I was on the farm and working on farms. If you wanted a good parking place in our little town of Galville, Illinois on Saturday night, you had to go in and pick a place about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes, I remember those days.
You remember those days. Many of us do, because of all the activity and trade and so on that was occurring. Well, part of that was because there were farmers out around who needed to come to town. So the depopulation thing, which has happened along with the specialization and concentration in agriculture and the ever larger farms, is a big part of that. And we just like to take a good hard look at the situation now and try to assess to what degree there can be reestablished in some form more of that organic, if you will, connection. That's not the right word, but we think there may be some possibilities.
So
we just don't have, no one's really taken a serious look at that in terms of its impact on rural development, but we think there are some perhaps new industries, agriculturally related, that could be established. We probably are not going to go back to having a little egg candling operation in every small town, but maybe there would be a small fermentation plant in every small town that would be developing and manufacturing biological control agents or something, because as we move more toward biological systems, they're very site-specific, as everyone realizes, so there will need to be very specialized kinds of services, information, and inputs for those farms. And so those are the kinds of things we want to look at next year.
So it will be a conference involving, we come back to this interdisciplinary approach. You'll be having rural sociologists and people from
Yes, and some physical scientists as well, who can remind us about the kinds of things I just mentioned as an example. But other programs here include just everyday clearinghouse work. The average day brings us a stack of mail about that deep, and that's an important part of it. We are involved with the policy side of things, and we have a director of policy development who helps us with that work and interacting with other groups that are working on legislative matters. And just today, the very day that you're here for this conversation, we have welcomed our first visiting scholar, who's next door, David Watt from North Dakota State University. So we have several lined up now that will be coming in on a rotating basis to spend periods of time from 2 months to as much as a full semester to do research that's difficult to do from their home location.
And this is a program that the Institute is able to financially support.
Yes.
That's
We're
exciting.
calling it our Visiting Scholar Program.
That's an exciting new thing. I wanted to ask you, too, about persons important to the movement today, persons in the past who have been important, and persons who you see who are on the cutting edge and helping move it along.
Well, there are legions, and it would be very difficult to recall without some preparation who they are.
Well, I like your answer about it being there being legions out there.